Hey guys, welcome back to Impact Youth Podcast. And just as a little quick recap, we saw last podcast we talked about the just God, right? How He's a just judge, and basically how that impacts our lives. But we'll just go into a quick prayer, and then we'll go from there. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just want to thank you for everything you've given us. Thank you for the blessing of life. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be just sharing this moment together, Father, and being able to talk to the people through this screen, Father, just to know more about you, Lord. And I just pray that you just guide us throughout this night. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So before we continue on, I want to show you guys a video. So feel free to go watch the video, and then we'll come back and we'll answer some questions.
Number one, put God first. Put God first in everything you do. Everything that you think you see in me, everything that I've accomplished, everything that you think I have, and I have a few things, everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that. It's a gift. 40 years ago, March 27th, 1975, it was 40 years ago, just this past March, I was flunking out of college. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I hope none of you can relate. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop. They still call it beauty shops now? What they call it now? Yeah, I was sitting in the beauty parlor. I was sitting in my mother's beauty parlor, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me this woman under the dryer. And every time I looked up, she was looking at me, just looking me in the eye. And I didn't know who she was, and I said, she said, somebody give me a pen, give me a pencil, I have a prophecy. March 27, 1975, she said, boy, you are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people. Now, mind you, I was flunked out of college. I'm thinking about joining the army. I didn't know what I was going to do, and she's telling me I'm going to travel the world and speak to millions of people. Well, I have traveled the world, and I have spoke to millions of people. But that's not the most important thing, the success that I had. The most important thing is that what she taught me and what she told me that day has stayed with me since. I've been protected. I've been directed. I've been corrected. I've kept God in my life, and it's kept me humble. I didn't always stick with Him, but He always stuck with me. So stick with Him in everything you do. If you think you want to do what you think I've done, then do what I've done and stick with God. Number two, fail big. That's right. Fail big. Today's the beginning of the rest of your life, and it can be very frightening. It's a new world out there. It's a mean world out there, and you only live once. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give myself a goal every day. Sometimes it's just to not curse somebody out. Simple goals, but have goals. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline, which you have already done, and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. And in this text, tweet, twerk world that you've grown up in, remember, just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Remember that. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. My mother told me, she said, yeah, because you can run in place all the time and never get anywhere. So continue to strive, continue to have goals, continue to progress. Number 3, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I'll say it again. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I don't care how much money you make, you can't take it with you. And it's not how much you have, it's what you do with what you have. We all have different talents. Some of you will be doctors, some lawyers, some scientists, some educators, some nurses, some teachers. Yeah, okay. Some preachers. The most selfish thing you can do in this world is help someone else. Why is it selfish? Because the gratification, the goodness that comes to you, the good feeling that I get from helping others, nothing's better than that. Not jewelry, not big house I have, not the cars, but it's the joy. That's where the joy is, in helping others. That's where the success is. Finally, I pray that you put your slippers way under the bed tonight, so that when you wake up in the morning, you have to get on your knees to reach them. And while you're down there, say thank you for grace. Thank you for mercy. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for wisdom. Thank you for parents. Thank you for love. Thank you for kindness. Thank you for humility. Thank you for peace. Thank you for prosperity. Say thank you in advance for what's already yours. That's how I live my life. That's why I am, one of the reasons why I am today. Say thank you in advance for what is already yours. True desire in the heart for anything good is God's proof to you, sent beforehand to indicate that it's yours already. I'll say it again. True desire in the heart, that itch that you have, whatever it is you want to do, that thing that you want to do to help others and to grow and to make money, that desire, that itch, that's God's proof to you, sent beforehand already to indicate that it's yours. And anything you want good, you can have. So claim it. Work hard to get it. When you get it, reach back. Pull someone else up. Each one, teach one. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference.
So I really like that video, just everything that he said.
I am a fan now. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
We are a stan of Denzel Washington. I feel so inspired. I'm going to go open a charity or something, dude. I got to do something.
Oh, my goodness. So I, like, everything he was talking about, it was just, like, straight up facts. It was like, amazing. But I have a question for all of you guys. Why him, being someone so successful, having maybe everything that he has, like, everything that he needs in life, being someone, like, wow, right? Why would his first advice be put God first? Why do you guys think that?
I guess what really impacted me was that he made that his very first focus was keep God. and strive to keep God and always be by His side. He said, even though he said, I've departed from Him, but God has never left me. We could leave God, and God's never going to leave us. And what I really liked is that he made a focus, although he said a lot of amazing stuff, right? Is that above everything and through everything, have God with you.
Yeah.
Be with God, walk with God. And you can see if you really follow through, because God is gonna be there to support you. And whatever plan you have ahead of you, if you tackle it with the right mindset, with God by your side, you're gonna succeed in ways that you can't imagine.
Yeah.
You're gonna eventually get to a place, because sometimes we get stuck. But I think what he said is very impacting. To go ahead and do it. Go forward. Don't just stay where you are, but go forward. And with God, you have no choice but to go forward.
Oh yeah, he definitely pushes you. I think another thing is that because I mean he's rich, right? He has been in so many movies. He's won all these awards, And I feel like a lot of times our successes can become our identity. But the thing with that is that can be taken away at any moment. You know what I mean? We see with literally any famous person, they're up on top one day and then one day they're just, or who is that again? Or that one hit wonder, you know, that type of thing. Where if you don't put your identity and who you are on something that's sturdy, like God, anything's gonna shake you. Anything's gonna make you fall. And I think that's where he's, I guess, kind of what he's telling them to do. And then the thing with having goals, which is what you were saying pretty much, that with God, he's gonna push you to more. He's not gonna let you stay there. If anything, reach for him, and that's where you're gonna find success, because it's just gonna come. But yeah.
Okay. Just to have my own opinion on this.
Go ahead.
He was flunking out of college.
That's wild.
He had nothing planned. He was gonna go join the army. He had nothing for his life ready, on place, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that God already had his life set, it's just why you should put him first. All right. Anywho, going to the next question: how can God be a refuge where it seems that we live in a society where we're constantly attacked, either directly or indirectly?
I guess just understanding, that you're being attacked, and that, I don't know, I guess just I don't know, the thing is, I would say if you feel you're being attacked, then that's when you know that you need to find shelter. Because who wants to be attacked every single day? You know what I mean? And I don't know, I guess the scenario that kind of gets put in my head, or when I think about a refuge or a shelter, is let's say a hurricane is coming, you're not going to stand in the middle of the ocean hey, come at me. You know what I mean? You're going to go find shelter. Hopefully not. I mean, there's some crazy people out there, but I would recommend not to do that.
Right.
But you're not Moses. Anyways, neither you, even though you're. Anyways, but yeah, I guess just recognizing that you need shelter. And the thing is, I think it's a lot of pride too, where you're no, I'll be fine. I can do this by myself. I don't need anybody. I don't need, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I can be like that too, and I can be super stubborn and super prideful. No, I don't need anybody. I don't need to, you know what I mean? I don't want to burden anybody. And even with God, I'm nah. He's, he has so much more to deal with or whatever, that I'm just no. He doesn't care about this. But the thing is, God cares about everything that you care about.
Well, I think. Well, just to make sure I got the question right, is how can we make God a refuge, right? As going as to how, I think more than anything is, if us as believers in Christ and believers in God, if we want to know how to refuge ourselves with God, I think it's seeking His Word above everything. It's
Telling you
because if you want to get to know Him, if you want to get to know Him better, read the Word that He has for you. And if you feel or if you've heard that He can be your refuge, that He can keep you safe, and you want to know how, read into the Word. And it's going to tell you, this is the best way to shelter yourself from all the atrocities that are going to happen in the world, whether it be directly or indirectly, because we can see that if we have, for an example, I think we've all heard the story of Job, right?
Yep.
And so many bad things happened in his life, but God was always his refuge. Even though the bad things happen, is we can still have that calm in the storm. Like, even though everything is crazy around us, right? We have that peace. We have that calm. I'm not saying everything's going well for us, but we can at least remain calm and have our shelter and know that we're going to be safe.
Yeah.
And I think also, like, just to build a little bit on what you were saying is sometimes we let our pride get to us.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I don't need friends. I don't need God. I don't need for whatever. But also I think sometimes it happens in a way or in a place where not just our pride, but sometimes we feel afraid or we feel ashamed or nervous to say that I need help, because admitting that you need help isn't always easy. Admitting that you're not okay isn't always easy, because then you also get the ridicule from your peers and the people around you. Even though it might be people that love you, you don't necessarily know how they're going to react. You don't necessarily know what they're going to say. So sometimes also out of fear or something, we get scared or we're nervous to say it because, like, what are they going to think? What are they going to say about me if if I'm in this certain situation? Even though if it was my fault or not, it doesn't matter. I think there's a lot of things that can play to that, to not seek out help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, I would say God is the best help. But,
Of course.
No.
Can I add something? Sorry.
ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so I was reading this little thing. Anyways, and they were talking about how Jesus was like in the story of like the storm where he's like sleeping and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was reading this thing and it kind of reminded me what you were just saying right now about how being calm in the storm, where literally Jesus was sleeping, dude. I mean, have you guys been on a boat?
Yeah.
Okay, I get so seasick on a boat. I don't
Same,
like it.
same.
Yeah, and it's like, the thing is, like, I cannot imagine someone sleeping. Because the thing is, I would try, and me mareaba más, bro. I was like, no. But, like, just, like, the calm that Jesus had, and just, like, that he knew he was fine, because in his, like, he had already subdued that storm. It wasn't an issue.
Right.
And if, like, the thing is, and if like, let's say someone, I don't know, like, just like being in that boat and just seeing Jesus so calm, like, just know that, like, just you can share in that, because he already knows what's going to happen, and I guess just like that's also like a trust that you have to have in him, that he will do what he says he's going to do.
Yeah. I think that also shows, like, even though the situation is bad for you, because like it was bad for them, they weren't going to be scared if there was nothing to be scared of. Is even though it's bad for you, it's nothing that can overcome him. It can't overcome Jesus.
I like that, Moy.
So,
That was good.
like, they can
That
be
was good.
afraid, and it makes sense for them to be afraid.
Yeah.
But why would Jesus have to be afraid of it? If he's God in the flesh, he has no reason to be afraid. So that's why when also he said, why are you guys afraid? You guys are with me.
You're on the same
You know?
boat.
So it's like, if I'm here, you guys are safe.
Yeah.
So if you're with me, if you're in relation with me, you guys are
yeah.
safe.
Oh, that was good.
I've seen like a lot of people saying that if people are like hating on you or whatever, it's because they're jealous of you. Only because they're not as driven as you. They're stuck in their little bubble of being scared to even do something else. So the fact that you're out and doing things that they wouldn't do is making them jealous. So I feel like that's just putting God's plan before anything else, and like just ignoring the negative comments that may come your way, either by other people or just by like their actions or whatever. So that's all I wanted to say.
I feel like it also makes people uncomfortable. Because the thing is, like, it's really good. But the thing is, like, I feel like people like that, like, you should feel inspired to not be like that, but to be like, you know what, like,
Let me do something.
let me do something, And, like, I don't know. I love that, though. Okay. Do you have anything, Moy? Sorry.
No, I think we've.
We've gone.
Okay,
We
so
got
moving
some-
on to a case study. So I'm going to read this to you, and I'm going to have you guys answer some questions, and you guys can think about it, too.
Cool.
So the case study is on this two people, Fernando and Pamela. So they're siblings, and they have always been super close, and through all of, like, the difficult times that they've gone through. So they've known to respect each other's boundaries, so they have, like, a good sibling relationship, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay, so recently their parents have decided to divorce after 10 years of marriage. And, obviously this hit them really hard. And they're starting to argue more because of the different ways that they are trying to deal with, like, that issue that's happening. So the way that Pamela is deciding to, like, deal with it is that she's starting to she's turning to God. She's trying to get closer to God because she doesn't want to follow the same path as her parents in, like, her future. She began looking to some of her married friends to see like how they're making their marriage work. And then her brother, Fernando. So he decided that he wanted to get closer to his friends, but the thing with his friends is that they're not a super great influence on him. So they go to parties, they go to nightclubs, and they're always starting to try drugs. He sees his lifestyle as an escape, so he doesn't have to deal with the separation of his parents. Okay, so with that being said, I have 2 questions for you guys.
Okay.
So both of them looked for refuge and what they thought was better. But I guess in your guys' thoughts, who took the better path and why?
Between them 2? Okay, so
Obviously Fernando, right?
no, not at all. So obviously Pamela,
Yeah.
because
I was joking, guys, by the way.
Yeah, please don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
So obviously Pamela is trying to look for an answer on like how to not be like her parents, which is like when you hear that you're like, oh, you're trying not to do what your parents did?
Yeah.
Like weird. But in this case, obviously her parents are getting a divorce.
Yeah.
So she wants to do better for her future. So between them 2, obviously Pamela did the better choice. What do you think, Lloyd?
Well, at first, the story kind of threw me off a bit
I
because,
saw your face.
yeah, the main thing was that they were going through a divorce, right, the parents.
Yes.
And to me, it said after 10 years of marriage.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like either they got married and then had kids, or they had kids. What it sounds
Yeah.
like is they had kids
Oh,
first
yeah.
and then got married, because if she's looking to her married friends, I highly doubt a 10-year-old has married friends.
Like our age.
So obviously I'm pretty sure they had to have kids, unless it's a 10-year-old with married friends, which is really weird. But
Yeah.
besides the fact, that's what kind of threw me off a bit. So I was like, okay.
It didn't really explain that part of it. That's
Yeah.
why
But I
when
mean, like,
did it, I was like,
if we think about it logically, if she has married friends, obviously they
She's
had
probably
to have
older.
kids before they got married, right?
Yeah.
So my point is, she already kind of grew up in a way where she saw marriage in a different light, where it's like they more like going to by logic in the story is that they got married after they had kids and after years had passed, because years have to have passed to
Yeah, at least
her to
like
have married
10
friends.
years
Yeah,
for
at
them
least
to not-
because most of our friends, like our age, like our friends don't get married till they're like
Ooh.
at the youngest, like 24, 25.
Yeah, like mid.
Yeah, so I mean,
20s,
and
más o
sometimes and
menos.
most like nowadays it's usually older. They're like around 30 when
Yeah.
most people get married nowadays. So I think a lot of things could have influenced their decision and whatever they decided to go to, because maybe they didn't have the best example at home. We don't know, and we don't I do commend Pamela to seeking God, right? That's great. But another thing is that she also focused on other marriages. Like she seeked in her other married friends,
Yeah.
which is both good and bad, because we don't necessarily know how their marriages are working either. So,
Yeah.
and if like for instance, if their marriages are the same as her parents, now she can either reflect on that or she's gonna copy it. Like she's
Yeah.
gonna copy that or she's gonna learn from by imitating them. And I think yes, the main thing is seek God and also godly friends and godly marriages. So it's not just a seek God, for instance, but it's also seek other godly people,
Yeah.
people who can help you out in those moments. And as for Fernando, when he went to seek his friends, and I'm not saying friends are bad. Obviously,
No.
friends are great. But the thing is, what are your friends doing? Are your friends dragging you down, or are your friends building you up? There's this whole situation where it's like it's just parties and drugs. Like not only is it bad for you mentally, it's gonna get bad for you physically.
Yeah.
So I think I guess in a sense, we seek a refuge, right?
Yeah.
And what we're really seeking is somewhere where we're not gonna get hurt. And for him, and for many people, that's what they run to. That's what we run to, because it's not gonna hurt for like the first few hours, whatever, when we're partying and getting drugged up.
Yeah.
Like they're escaping.
It's
Yeah.
they are in a sense getting a refuge, but more they're escaping at first, but never facing the real issue.
It's just all gonna come back to them
Yeah,
at some
and
point.
and
it's
for
gonna be
like in
worse.
the case of Pamela, if
Pam.
she really seeks God, like truly, there's always healing. And the thing is, it takes time, but she's gonna heal. She's
Yeah.
gonna heal and she's gonna get better. And I think that in this case, she clearly made the better choice.
Yeah. So next question.
That's great.
So the second question is, what would you do if your refuge, your shelter, fades? So the question, how it's posed in Spanish, es ¿qué pasa si tu refugio en medio de la prueba se desvanece?
I think it depends on your refuge.
Yeah.
But I think, like, real talk, I guess.
Go ahead.
Whatever refuge. Let's take, for instance, in the case of earlier Fernando, or not necessarily him, but let's say I'm in a current situation where I seek refuge and I seek the same thing he did. I seek my friends, and I seek friends who aren't good for me, because I think we all have them. But I know I definitely have friends who are not a great influence. I mean, they're still my friends, and I help them out, but I don't hang out with them as,
Yeah.
like everything that they do. But let's say in this situation, I seek them out, right?
Yeah.
And like everyone else, like everyone on this earth, we're all human beings, and we're all going to fail.
Yep.
We're bound to fail one day or another. No matter how great or perfect we think we are, or we say we are, or we actually are, we're going to fail. None of us are completely perfect to the T. And if I rely on my friends as my refuge, if I rely on drugs as my refuge, my friends are going to fail.
Yeah.
At one point, the drugs are either not going to be enough, or I'm not going to have money for drugs, because I'm already so into the drugs that I'm just my life is a mess.
Going there, yeah.
If whatever refuge I rely on here in this world physically, whether it be drugs, alcohol, sex, friends, whatever it is, at some point it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Because either I'm going to want more, or literally it's going to basically get out of my hands, because I don't have the money for it, I don't have the time for it, whatever it is, it's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And I think in the sense, if our refuge is God, first of all, God never leaves. He's always
Yeah.
with you. So it's impossible for something that can't leave to leave. But what is possible is for me to give up and to leave. See, maybe the refuge is always there, but what's disappearing is me. God is always there, so the refuge is safe hold. You can always go into the safe hold. But it's your choice. Are you going to go in it, or are you going to stay out?
Yeah.
So I think what it is really do I still keep seeking God in the moments where things are going bad? Because things are going to go bad.
Oh, definitely.
And that's why it says he's our refuge. We don't seek refuge unless there's something bad happening.
Yeah.
We don't seek some safe hold unless there's some sort of catastrophe or something happening outside in the world or in my life that I want to, be protected from. So when we seek his protection, when we seek God's protection, it's obviously because something's going on in our lives. And if God is always there, I'm always going to have the protection.
Yeah.
So he won't disappear, but if I'm outside, my other protections can disappear. But if I'm with God, my protection won't disappear, but it gives me the opportunity to choose whether to be with God or not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the way I see it.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, for me, I feel like if you were putting like all your like what you're saying, your trust or whatever in this refuge, and it eventually disappears, it wasn't a refuge in the first place. Because a refuge is supposed to be like your safe home or whatever. Like
Yeah.
like those people in like
Oh,
Texas
God,
or
that's
whatever.
deep. Go off.
Like those
Go ahead.
people like in like Texas, and they're like they have the little bunker.
There you
There
Yeah,
we
but
go.
isn't there like a basement?
Okay,
They have
that-
basements
Like a
too. No, yeah,
basement.
but they usually build like an extra room or an extra
like underground,
location, either
right?
underground. Yeah, it's like a security bunker, because I mean,
Most of the time, people who in like tornado areas have basements.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a basement because there's
well, my
no
parents' house
tornadoes
have a
here.
basement.
Oh, serio?
Yeah,
Oh,
Oh, lit.
well, you're
That sounds
prepared
fun.
for a
prepare for
tornado.
a tornado.
Yeah.
I don't think we
My
had
neighbor,
tornadoes
sorry,
here.
it's low key. When my neighbors built like a underground, like it was all dirt, and they made like an underground cave. I was really scared to go in there because I was like, all this dirt's gonna fall on. But anyway, sorry, super
Anyway,
side
let's
note. But go
back
ahead.
to, like, so what I was saying, like people have their bunkers, right? That's supposed to be their safe spot.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we have our safe spot and it disappears, like it falls on me, it wasn't supposed to be.
You weren't
my
supposed to go
refuge.
in there.
That's not my protection.
Oh, guys, that's good. I hope you're taking notes.
So
People who go to heaven 100% take notes, just so you know.
oh my gosh. Anywho, so
I heard that.
so putting your
in
trust
the Bible
in
somewhere, I
God,
promise.
Just like I've been through a lot in my life. Even though I'm barely like 18, I've seen the bad things in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I try to like go with my friends, but they didn't always have time for me because I am a busy person, right? They're all busy people. So the fact that I found the one person who I could put all my trust in, God, he's always going to be there. He's going to be like, oh, I have a problem at 4 a.m. He's listening. He's ready to answer me in that moment, right? So just put your trust in God, and everything is going to be okay. Eventually, it takes time to heal, but he's always there to give you the answer.
Yeah. And I have a question for that, but I'll ask you guys that later.
Oh.
Ooh, okay.
It's fine. It's good. Go ahead,
Okay,
Katya.
I guess it's not that bad.
I guess it's not a question.
You'll be
then.
fine.
I guess it's not that bad. Okay.
Okay. So moving on, but connecting that to having, what we were just talking about. Let's just move on. Okay. So we live in a society that encourages us to have more burdens or more responsibilities, face more challenges. Like if we're not doing anything with our life, they're like, oh, look at her, she's doing nothing with her life. Ooh, boo. Like we're forced to drink more. We're supposed to bite more often what we can chew, and we're supposed being satisfied with what we're doing is like mediocrity. Like it's mediocre. Like oh really? That's all you're doing? You could have done more. Like there's never enough for anybody, right? And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the heaviest burdens that we carry in our daily lives today?
Okay, I think a huge one is comparison. I think that's a huge burden because, I mean, exactly how you were saying, like, oh, well, this person's doing this much and this person's doing that much. Like, what am I doing to catch up? And even with, the whole, Instagram thing, I don't know. I have a lot of friends who, compare themselves to a lot of people that, are Instagram. And the thing is that they're all fake. They're all fake. They're not real. They edit the poop out of their pictures. But anyways, so it's not real. And the thing is, everyone's putting up this facade of perfection, but it's not real. It's I don't know. I always, the Wizard of Oz, the Oz?
Yeah.
He was literally just a dude behind a curtain. That's literally what people are. Some.
Ooh.
Where they just put up this curtain of oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm perfect. But the thing is, no one knows how to be genuine anymore. No one can open up. And I understand it because it's hard. But it's I don't know, I guess it's just again, that thing that where maybe it's pride, maybe it's just being scared of being judged, como sea. But it's people can't be real. You know what I mean? Where I don't know. I feel that's a huge issue. And another thing, I guess, back to the video, because I really like that video, but he said, don't confuse motion with progress. You might be doing all these things, but is it really leading you anywhere?
Honestly, I think that's the decision's up to us at the end of the day. What burdens do you carry? What burdens do you want to carry? And in this sense, because I think there are objective burdens that we have to carry regardless. When you're grown up, at least, you have to pay rent.
That's true.
So you have to find a way to make money to to pay your rent or to pay your house, whatever it is. There is that objective burden of you have to do something to obtain money. Whether you do it in a good way or bad way, it doesn't matter. The thing is, you have that burden.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes in another sense, for instance, when Carlos said comparison, that's the way I see it is that's your decision to make. Am I going to compare myself to someone? And when I compare myself to someone, depending on where I am mentally in my mental state, I can either build myself up or tear myself down. Because either I can say I can strive to do better, or I'm never going to be as good as such person. So as far as burdens, I think a lot of it has to do, and we all live in a world where we're all exposed to something, or we can get irritated by something or hurt by someone that they necessarily just say. They don't actually physically have to do something. So the burden, I think, really carries on whatever weight we put on ourselves. It's not necessarily because this happened in the world. It's because something could happen out there, but how am I reacting to it? And I think that's the burden that I put on myself. And I think that's the biggest burden that one can carry is the burden that you decide to give yourself.
I think also, I guess the way that the Bible says not to put yourself in temptation's way, and not to I think it's similar to I guess the burdens, right? So for example, if you're someone who struggles with I guess going back to the whole self-image thing, right? then don't follow people who you're going to compare yourself to. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you know that's who you are, then why are you putting yourself in that situation?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just want to say, like, people have different burdens, right? We're not all the same, like you're saying. Don't
Yeah.
be comparing yourself to others. If you can't understand what someone else is going through, don't be messing with them, I guess
Yeah.
you can say. Like, people have different paths. We've never lived. We're not the same as anyone else, right? So
Yeah.
people have different burdens, but it just depends on the person if they're gonna stay all sad and all like, oh no, I can't do anything, or are you gonna do something about it? Are you gonna get yourself up and try to better yourself? So it's just like, it just depends on you. And just, if you, obviously you can't do it on your own, so go and seek for God. He makes it so much easier. He helps you, like, basically carries you. All you have to do is ask for help.
And just before, I mean, obviously the one what we're going over today is God our refuge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people know this. The people who I'm closer with, like Caro, you know this.
Yeah.
I like to define a lot of
Yes,
things.
he does. He does.
And so
It's like a
for
dictionary, dude.
refuge, okay.
Go ahead.
So I looked up a few definitions, but I just went with like the top ones were the most impactful ones. And refuge is a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. And another one is something that provides shelter. Something providing shelter would be considered a refuge. And for that, I'd like to read this passage in Psalms chapter 46, verse 1 through 3. And this is New King James Version. It says, God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore I will not fear, even though the earth is removed, and though the mountains be carried away in the midst of the sea. Through the waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake and with its swelling. So what I really like is like first it said God is my refuge, like He's my stronghold. That's what I'm gonna turn to. That's where I'm gonna be safe. And what I really like is it says I will not fear. In verse 2, and after verse 2 it says even if the earth be removed, like even if in the midst of all this awful or these huge calamities that we can imagine, even then, I will not fear. God is my refuge. He is my shelter. No matter what happens, He's with me, and I'm going to be with Him because I know that's where I'm going to be safe. And also Psalms 91, verse 2, it says, I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. And I think that's another important thing that we consider Him as a refuge, is that we also have to have that trust in Him. Because I think that's where a lot of us, and me personally, I've lacked in that, and sometimes that comes to us, I guess, like going into a pit, an emotional pit or a spiritual pit, where everything is just darkened to us because we seek to Him as a refuge and we expect everything to be okay. And the truth is, all these calamities are happening when He said it previously, so all these bad things are still happening.
Yeah.
So it's not saying that these bad things aren't going to happen. And that's what, initially what I thought. I was like, when I seek God, all these bad things are going to disappear. But that's not what the word says. It says, through that, He'll be your refuge. Through that, He'll be your shelter and your protection. That doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
But in this one, in chapter 91, it says, in Him I will trust.
Yeah.
See, so it's not just I seek Him for shelter, I seek Him to protect, but also I have to trust Him, or I seek to trust Him. To know that although this refuge, because if we're in a refuge and we see all these bad things happening, we're still going to be afraid, right? If we look out the windows and we see these, these horrible things happening, there's going to be some sort of fear in us and saying, like, is this refuge really going to hold up?
Yeah.
Because if we talk physically, there are refuges that are obviously they're going to hold up to a certain extent, right? Nothing in this world is indestructible.
Yeah.
So there could be a shelter that could probably, depending on how they grade a storm, how severe it may be, some will keep you safe for certain degrees of storms. But if it's more severe, that shelter is going to destroy it. It's just going to break down.
Yeah.
So we're inside this shelter and this refuge, and we see everything happening around us. We have to trust that the refuge that we're in this case God, is going to hold up no matter what.
Yeah.
Just like you mentioned earlier when He calmed the storm, He is the refuge. So when the storm comes, it's calm. Because where he is, that's where the calm is at.
Yeah.
We still see it. Obviously, they saw it. They were afraid, just like we see things, and we're going to be afraid, and it's normal to be afraid.
Yeah.
But we have to trust in him. If he's our refuge, trust in the refuge that we are abiding in at the moment and saying, God, although I'm scared, I'm trusting in you.
Yeah.
So I think that was something that really, I guess, captivated me when I read that verse. But there's a character in the Bible that I want to mention, bring up a little bit, who lived many complicated events. Difficult situations, faced persecution, and constant wars with a lot of enemies. And so it would not be surprising that he felt tired or afraid in a lot of this stuff. So in the midst of some of these events, he writes in Psalm 18, King David. That's what it is. So in Psalm 18, right, it says, I'm going to read verse 1 to 3. It says, I will love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God, my strength, in whom I will trust. My shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. So we see here in these verses, right, although David, although he has been the leader of a great leader and a great warrior, he has a great deal. We see that he has a great deal of victories, and obviously when reading the Bible.
Yeah.
But he doesn't hesitate to give God the glory. You know, through these great things. Even when he defeated Goliath, you know, he said, God gave me the strength. When he defeated the lion and the bear, God gave me the strength. Glory be to God, because he's the one that did it, not me. He used me, but God is what gave me the strength, so the glory be to God. And he made it clear, you know, that that's where his strength came from. And it's not something that comes from himself, you know, but God using him as a vessel.
Okay, so just to like wrap it up, right? And these are supposed to be rhetorical questions, but if you guys want to comment on them, go ahead. I probably will because I talk a lot. But so yeah, so these are supposed to be rhetorical questions, but I want you guys to think about them, and I want you guys to think about it as well, and just like take into account everything that we've talked about today and all that stuff, right? When you're kind of thinking about this. But so the first question is, what or who is your refuge/shelter when situations become difficult? Who are the people, if anyone, if you do run to somebody, who are those people that you run to? And then, are these people God-loving, godly people? I know those are kind of personal, but
I feel like before, because I grew up in a Christian household, so I've always been going to church and like believing in God. But when I actually learned about God, and I was like, wow. I was like, what, like 12 or even later than that, probably in high school. And before that, all my problems or whatever, I would just call up my friends and be like, dude, you'll never know what just happened to me. And I'll be like spamming them with like texts, and they're probably like,
this
bro,
girl,
leave
here she
me
goes
alone.
again.
Yeah, like again,
Yeah.
the same person. Anywho, but now that I'm like God is my refuge, right? Wow, I can't even talk.
You're good.
So I'll just like pray. I'll be like, God, you already know what's going on in my life. Please help me get through it. That's basically, it's so easy. Like, he knows what you're going through.
Definitely.
You don't even have to explain yourself. Be like, God, you know, you help. And that's it. And so it's just easy. It's just like, huh.
What do you think, Wayne?
Oh, I mean, I think I can agree with a lot with Katya saying. I grew up in a Christian household too, but just because you're born in a Christian household doesn't make you a Christian.
Yeah.
What makes you a Christian is when you make the decision
Salvation
to follow
isn't
Christ.
genetic.
So yeah, I mean
Genetic?
the
Not
same
genetic?
reason.
Not genetic. There you go.
The
Sorry.
same thing is like, you know, it's not till you grow up and you have an understanding and you know, and you change the way that you view the world changes. And so now, instead of just seeking people here to help you out, well, I'm not saying it's always bad to seek them, but seeking God first and asking him who to guide you to, because obviously there's a lot of people that are going to give us good advice.
Yeah.
So it's always good to seek them as well.
Yeah, like God doesn't put like the people that you have in your life without like a reason. They're there to guide you. They're there to help you. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Something that I used to do, because I grew up in a Christian home too, and the thing is, like, so whenever something difficult happened in my life, I would run to my friends, like my godly relationships. But the thing is, I would put so much emphasis on them and what they said. So if they had nothing to say, I was like, dang, like God has nothing to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Because
get
that's what because I put so much, like, I guess, trust that God was going to say something to them and they were going to say something to me and it was going to change my life. But the thing is, it doesn't work like that. You know, and I was like, what? But they're God-loving people. Like, why are they, you know what I mean? Like, that was but the thing is, I was running away from God thinking that I was running to him, you know? And, like, and that's, like, honestly, like, this has been very recent. Like, the thing is, like, where I just kind of was like, I need to stop doing that because it's not helping me at all.
Right.
Like, I'm not running. And the thing is, like, it's so funny, again, because God knows exactly. The thing is, he finds the things that are wrong with you without you even knowing. You know what I mean? And it's just like, but the thing is, he does it in a loving way where he's like, this is not helping you.
Right.
Let's move out of that and let me show you what the real thing is, the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that, like, I've been working through recently, too. Very recently. But, yeah. And it's like, I don't know. But, yeah, like, that's something that I had to work through and be like, okay, when I come to God, when something becomes difficult in my life, I need to run to him. You know, and if he leads me to somebody, right? Because the thing is, like, I'm also working on being, like, open with people and telling. Because the thing is, that person I was telling you that's prideful, that's me. Like, so much. Like, that's literally me. Like, I don't like it because I don't like people feeling bad for me. I'm like, I don't need you to feel bad for me, you know? But the thing is, like I know God has put that person or people in my life for a reason, exactly how you were saying, you know? And whether that be for them just to listen or to give me advice, like, I need to put the trust that God's going to come for me from God and not just on who he puts in my life,
Right.
you know? But, yeah, so I have Psalm 16, and it's 8 through 11. I'm going to go ahead and read it. And I love these verses. And it says, I keep the Lord in mind always because he is my right hand. I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad and my spirit rejoices. My body also rests securely. For you will not abandon me in Sheol. You will not allow your faithful one to see decay. You reveal the path of life to me. In your presence is abundant joy, and in your right hand are eternal pleasures. So I guess I just have one more question for you guys, and it's, why do you guys think that some people don't see God as a right place to run? Whether that be Christian or non-Christian. I feel like with non-Christian it's pretty easy to answer that question just because I feel like probably they don't believe it or they have like a bad experience, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Why do you guys think that some people don't see God as the right place to run? Go ahead.
From what I can tell, I think a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it can be through, I guess you could call them bad Christians or bad religious people. Because sometimes there are people who claim or they go to church and they seem or they have this, I guess you could call it a facade.
Yeah.
Just because they go to church, because they put it out there, they post it, whatever. Because in some places that's what it is.
Yeah.
And maybe people that they personally know how they are at home. They know how they are in private. They know how they speak in private, how they treat others, how they talk to others. And they now have this image and this view of, because I know so-and-so on a personal level, and so-and-so claims to be a Christian, or so-and-so claims to seek God, but I see the life that they live. Like, I know their private life. I know their personal life because I'm part of it. And if I see all these bad things that they keep saying and doing, why would I want to go there? Why would I want to go be a Christian myself? Because I see all these bad examples. I think that's one of them. I think there's a lot of other reasons, but I think a big one would probably be that.
Adding on to what you said, that verse, I'm really bad with like the actual location, but I know the verse where it says that like you're either warm or you're either hot or you're cold.
Right.
Like you cannot be in the middle because
verse is heavy. He says he'll spit you out
he thinks that you're disgusting, and that's crazy. That's those are the non-Christians. Like you'll come to church and you'll see those people. They seem like so in love with Jesus.
Pharisees.
They'll be the ones that go on Instagram. They're like, oh my gosh, I love this verse. But in reality, they just saw it on Pinterest and they're like, oh my god, the background was so
Sometimes
cute.
they're cute though.
Okay, yeah, but
Like exposing
Carol's
myself.
like, that's me.
she's like, what? No, but like those, like, but what you were saying, like, you don't know their private life. You don't know what they're doing on the side. They'll go and party and they'll go and do drugs and they're like, I love Jesus. He's taking care of me. But like, no, you don't, because you wouldn't be doing those things because you're warm. That's disgusting.
It's like warm soda.
Yeah.
But I like warm soda, so I don't know.
Gato, you keep attacking yourself. Anywho.
I'm just exposing myself.
Oh gosh. But
It's
that's all I
fine.
had to say. Like, don't be warm. Be hot. Or I guess be cold.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what you guys are saying. I think one more thing also is that, like, and I was talking to Nomi about this. Nomi, about to put you on the spot, but she's very wise.
Didn't you steal her job like a couple?
Yes, I did.
And
But
she got it back. She got it back. That's why she's so wise.
She knows I love and appreciate her a ton. Anyways, but we were talking, and she was telling me about how, like, a lot of people, like, it's hard to run to God because, like, he's not physical. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, run to him and him give you, like, a physical hug. You know what I mean? But the thing is, like, he might not be able to, I'm, like, tearing up, dude. Anyways, but he might not be able to, like, give you a physical hug, but he can give you so much more than that. You know what I mean? Like, he can satisfy you. But yeah, like, he can satisfy you in, like, I guess, like, it just in a
ways.
more fulfilling way than just a hug. You know what I mean? And definitely, like, you definitely need a hug, and I guess that's why he puts those people in your life, you know, for that hug. But the thing is, like, they can't satisfy your spiritual and emotional needs, you know, and that's the stuff that can make or break you, you know, because the thing is, like, every action has a root, and God's the only one that can reach that, you know. He has the only shovel that can shovel that deep, you know, because he knows you and he made you in, like, every part of you. Y'all, I was about to cry, okay?
I
Anyways,
see some tears.
but anyways, so we're just gonna, do you guys have something else to add?
No, I'm good.
I think I'm good. We answered that.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pray. So this is the last. I know you're supposed to say this. I'm sorry, but this is our last podcast of this series, The Real and Personal. Yeah, we'll have a little bit more information after that. Katya's gonna give that. But so we're gonna go ahead and close out and pray. And I hope this was a blessing for you guys as much as it was for all of us. For hermano Estrada, hermano Julian, Nomi, like all of us that are up here. Like, it was such a blessing to be up here and just, like, be able to talk about God, because I think that's how, you know, like, where two or three are congregated, whatever, you know what I mean.
What?
Or two or three donde están congregados, like, that's where God is. And I've definitely, listen, this is a deep moment. Stop.
Sorry, that was. Sorry.
The disrespect. Anyways, but just like I don't know about you guys, but, like, I felt God in all of these, like, conversations, you know, and I know that he sees this, and I know that it's gonna be a blessing to somebody. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna pray so much. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pray. Dear Heavenly, bow your heads. We're gonna pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, I thank you so much for this day, Father, and thank you for bringing us here together, Father. And I just ask that whoever needs to hear this, Father, that you put that in their hands, God, and that you just find a way for them to find this, Father. I thank you for bringing us all here, and I just know everything that you do is for a reason, and I know everyone who's here and who's listening, you have a purpose for them, God, and I just ask that you help them see that, Father, and help them see that you are the refuge that they need to run to, Father, that everything else is falling, Father, that it's failing, God, and that you are the only thing that is a sturdy foundation, Father, that you are the calm in the storm, and in the midst of everything, God, we can turn to you because you are our safe refuge. You are our shelter, God, that even though we still have to walk through that valley, we don't have to do it alone because you will walk there with us, Father. And I thank you for that, Father. And I thank you for being all that for us and more, Father. And I just ask that you help us allow you to be that, Father. I ask that you help us open up our door, the door to our hearts, Father, and help us be able to just like really, truly give ourselves to you, Father, because that is where true salvation, true happiness and joy come from, Father. They come from you. I thank you for everything that you give, God, and the grace that you give. And I know I say that often, but you know, God, I mean it. I just ask, and I thank you for everything that you give. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen y al sartén. Go ahead.
Amen. Okay. So now we're going back to what we were talking about last week, like at the end of the video, at the end of the podcast. We were saying how after all these weeks, after all these 8 weeks, we've had a specific title for each one. You guys know, because you guys have been watching the podcasts.
Also, they're on Instagram, but whatever. I'm not going to give that hint.
Yes. Anywho, so we're going to have a prize, as you guys know. I already know what the prize is, but I'm not competing since...
Can I?
No. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can.
Oh!
Everyone can join.
I can compete?
You guys can compete. I'm not competing since I already know the prizes, and I want to be nice to you guys.
That
Watch
sounds like...
out.
Yes, you can compete, Nomi. You
I
can
guess we're
compete.
changing.
She was lying to you.
Oh!
Yeah, but
Mentiras
you
del
can
diablo
compete.
y en la
You
casa
can
de
compete.
Dios.
You can compete. You can compete.
Oh,
Everyone
she's
can
Oprah.
compete.
Is there something under my chair?
No,
Oh.
we're not that rich.
Another chair.
That's how she would do it. She puts stuff under the chair.
Yeah,
Anywho.
carpet.
What?
Check under your chair.
Wait, is there something?
Yeah, carpet.
Oh, you're
Oh
annoying.
my,
Oh my God.
goodness.
Get out of
Get
here, dude. There's an
out.
open door right there. Get out.
Okay.
Jesus is on the other side. Go ahead.
Amen. Okay, anywho. Okay, so not today, but the following Friday, we are going to be doing an Instagram live. I know you all have Instagrams. So we're going to be here. We're going to be doing the live, obviously, and we're going to be asking you guys questions. In order for you guys to win, you guys should be commenting down during our live, obviously, the answers. And the first couple of people who get the answers correctly are going into the list of people who are allowed to get prizes.
Listen, guys, I'm competitive. Don't let me win. That's all I'm saying.
Especially since they are us, we can compete. You don't have to be con las pilas, bro. Because
Recharge them the day before.
So be ready, be there, or be squared.
Be a whole square. You don't want to be a square.
We will be posting about
Squares are lame.
We're gonna be posting about our live probably daily just to get you guys prepared. So you guys better be studying all the other podcasts.
Giving you some hints.
I
gonna
told
be giving
you,
you some
people who take
clues.
notes go to heaven.
Amen. So we're gonna be
And get
giving
prizes.
you guys
And
clues
get prizes.
about what the answers are going to be. So if you didn't pay attention throughout this podcast,
I told you notes.
rewind and watch it all over again because they're not even that long. You got the time. We're in quarantine. What else are you gonna
What
do?
else? What you gotta do? Nothing.
Nothing.
You don't
All
got no
right.
school. You're not doing that work.
Okay,
Don't
stop.
fool yourself.
Stop bashing on that.
Okay, okay.
So be ready. All right. What else do I say?
Have a good night. God bless.
God bless you. We love
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.